I think supersets and triple sets and quadruple sets and all of those kind of things create that kind of extra fire in the muscle.
Well, that's one of the things we're creating by this Blueprint series is to bring back the volume training. A lot of people have gotten away from it because they think they're overtraining. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, I think that I liked to be a little bit overtrained because to me, I responded better and I got more definition because remember, in my days, we were not as sophisticated when it comes to dieting, and we didn't have the food supplements that are available today with getting definition and cutting down and all those things. We had food supplements that were really good for gaining weight, but we didn't really have much available to lose weight. So to me, my way of really getting defined and getting kind of a really mature definition, rather than just dropping quickly 10 pounds or 15 pounds with a watermelon diet or something like that, which just depletes your body from all the fluid. But then you get cramps on stage when you pose and when you're also in the gym and so. So that's not the right way to go. So I always felt like if I do instead of 20 sets, 30 sets, 35 sets a body part. So I went all out, especially before competition when I wanted to cut down. It was to pile on as many sets as possible because remember that after you do the bench press and you do the incline press and the dumbbell incline press and the flies with the dumbbells and all this stuff, now you still have to do the dips for the lower pectoral muscle. Then you have to do the exercise for the striation. So now you do cable crosses in front. So now you're already at 30 sets, right? And then you haven't even talked about the pullover with the dumbbell, which was as you remember, we talked about that. My favorite exercise to lie across the bench and to have a heavy dumbbell, like 100, 120 pound dumbbell, and to do like 15 reps of that to get great serratus, to expand your rib cage and all those things. So yes, you were tired. Yes, I had to come back for the second workout at night, but so what? Working out in the gym 5 hours a day, I never felt sorry for myself. Let me tell you that it all paid off.
Absolutely.
While the notion that more is better is attractive in its simplicity, it just doesn't work. More is better means more is better. There's a built-in guarantee. If 20 sets are good, i.e. yield satisfactory results, then 40 sets would be even better. And 80 better still, and 120 sets better still, and so on into infinity. It is erroneous, illogical, non-productive, and even counterproductive. Look about you. Everyone who engages in exercise or athletic training of any sorts performs a certain volume of work. If volume was the key in and of itself, the stimulus responsible for triggering growth, those who perform the most exercise, the greatest volume, such as marathon runners, would have the largest muscles.
Or another set or something. I looked forward to another 1,000 reps of sit-ups. I looked forward to another 500 pounds of leg press or squat. I looked forward to doing more and more curls until my arms fall off. Why? Because I knew that every rep that I did and every set that I did and more weights that I lifted, I get one step closer to turning that vision into reality. So I was turned on by that. I was excited. I couldn't wait to get to the gym.
It's also interesting and illuminating to note here that the majority who advocate the volume approach have little or nothing to say, at least not consistently as part of a valid non-contradictory theory, about what the actual stimulus is responsible for triggering the body's growth mechanism into motion. What do the volume people claim is the stimulus? I guess implicitly it's the volume, but they never give you any explanation as to why that is or what the mechanism is. And that's one of the reasons I refer to theirs as the blind, non-theoretical volume approach. It's literally blind. Yes, anyone and everyone who exercises, aerobically, anaerobically, or athletically, has to perform some volume of exercise, but it may be any volume. The issue of volume in high-intensity anaerobic weight resistance exercise is a negative factor, period.
I was training with Sergio Liver, and Sergio Liver in Chicago, when I worked out with him in 1969, he was doing like 4 sets in a row. It was kind of common practice. And so I said to myself, I was doing like 3 sets in a row. That was common practice for me. So he actually pushed me to do 4 sets and to think beyond and to do 5, because he trained with Bob Guider, who used to do 6 sets in a row. It opened up a whole new thing for me, just like Reg Park did when it comes to calf raises, where I did always like with 300-pound calf raises and 400-pound calf raises, but all of a sudden I saw Reg Park doing with 1,000-pound calf raises, and I said, oh my God, I never even thought about that, that is humanly possible, and then I pushed myself to go up to that level. So I mean, this is what it is. You got to push yourself all the time, because remember, the body doesn't really respond to the same thing over and over, right? You got to always give it the extra punch. So I think supersets and triple sets and quadruple sets and all of those kind of things create that kind of extra fire in the muscle.
Quite often I'm asked if performing a second set would really make that much difference. And the answer is, not only would it make a difference, but going from 1 set to 2 is the biggest mistake of all, for it is the biggest increase possible, a 100% increase. Going from 1 set to 2 sets represents a 100% increase in the volume of the exercise, making for twice the inroad into recovery ability. Often, when taking a new client through a workout, he'll note the fact that I have him performing but 1 set per exercise, whereupon he'll ask, but Mike, you only have me doing 1 set. I feel like I should do another set. The feeling he has is fear, specifically a fear that he hasn't performed enough exercise to stimulate growth. And that if he could provide me with 1 good reason, not 2, just 1 good reason why I should consider allowing him to do 1 more set, I would consider it. And after all these years as a trainer, not 1 single individual has ever given me 1 good reason.
The last months before the competition, or before you want to really be in your ultimate shape, you shock the muscle all the time with unusual things. And one of them is to do the hand, the barbell back and forth. Another one is to go down the rack from 110 pounds we did in dumbbell presses to 100 pounds to 90 pounds to 80 pounds, so all the way to 40. And then we did lateral raises with the 40 pounds. And then we did bend over lateral raises before we ever put it down. You know what I'm saying? So now the shoulders were so pumped up and it was screaming. But that's how you shock the muscle. And we did this with all the muscles.
So rest is for losers.
Rest is good, but I mean only enough to recuperate quickly and to do the next set.
And don't make the mistake of gauging or evaluating the success of any one of these workouts by the standard of feeling, whether or not you get sore or achieve a pump. I see certain people who have been training at Gold's Gym in Venice, California for hours every day for years. If achieving a pump was a surefire indication that growth was stimulated, these people would have 28-inch arms by now, as they get pumped every time they work out. The pump, of course, is only temporary and does not indicate that growth was stimulated. And if getting sore was necessary, I never would have won a physique title, as I almost literally never got sore, usually only after a layoff. You can only evaluate the success of any one of these workouts by whether or not you're stronger the next time you perform that workout. So, keep a training journal as described in the value-added booklet.
So, obviously arms were one of your favorite things to train. It's well documented. What's your favorite arm superset? If you only got to do 1, you had to pick 1 bicep and 1 tricep exercise superset, what would they be?
I would do a barbell curl with an easy curl bar. I would say that's kind of like would be the most basic exercise, and I think it's something that everyone would grow if they would do a barbell curl that is done in the beginning very strict, and then when it gets heavier with a little cheating, and then when it gets really heavy, more cheating. There's nothing wrong with that, but barbell curl is the most basic exercise. I think it's the first exercise that I've done when I joined a weightlifting club, because we had only very few dumbbells and we had mostly barbells, so everyone trained with barbells. If it is barbell curls, if it is barbell triceps, if it's barbell bend over rowing, everything was barbell, barbell, barbell.
What was your best barbell curl? It's like
275. I did 3 or 4 reps on stage. That was always one of the things that you did in my days. You had to show that you had strength also. So when you did an exhibition, you did deadlifts and bench press and curls and stuff like that on stage before you went out there and posed.
What would be your go-to tricep exercise then?
My favorite was a triceps extension with a cable, just pressing down. That one worked for me the best. But I have to say that people shouldn't really pay much attention to that, because everyone has a different kind of a build. There's people that are getting a much better triceps exercise if they do one-arm triceps, like Frank Zane was one of them. They did one-arm triceps extensions behind the neck, and he pumped up like crazy with that exercise. To me, it was a good exercise, but not the best exercise. To me, the regular push down on the cable was a much better exercise and much more effective exercise.
Well, let's look at the pull downs. While most people think of them exclusively as a lat exercise, and they are very good for the lats, they are also very effective in working the rear delt. And it just so happens to be true, audience, the close grip palms up pull down is the best bicep exercise in the world, better than any curl you could do. Here's why. When you do a curl, whether it's a barbell curl, a nautilus curl, a dumbbell curl, whatever, you're working this muscle around a single joint axis, the elbow, which is why the stress is limited exclusively to the lower bicep, if you've noticed.
To that.
Well, I cannot even imagine to just do one exercise or two exercises. I mean, as you know, with chest, I did 5, 6 exercises, and the same is with legs.
You may have been aware that over the past few years, a considerable amount of critical commentary has been aimed at the theory of high intensity, even me personally. How could Mentzer believe that only one set could possibly be enough? He seems like a bright fellow otherwise, but he has a critical blind spot here. One set couldn't possibly be enough. And the reason that they are having a difficult time grasping that such might be possible is that they have allowed themselves to become mindlessly hypnotized by the mere number itself, the number 1. They just hate the number 1 here. Forget the number 1 and look at the nature of what that one thing is. There are those who may require only 1 hour of exposure to high-intensity sunlight stress to develop a suntan. It's still the number 1. If you don't like the number 1, you could alter the standard of notation. You might say 100 zillion photon units of light, a very large number. Or instead of 1 set, you could say 100 units of intensity.
Someone else is going to walk right by me, and someone else is going to grab that title. Because many times these competitions were very, very close. And I remember especially in 1980 where it was just 2 points. And, any mistake could have cost me the title. So this is not a mistake that I want to make. I want to be responsible that I do everything that I can to be a winner and to get the body that I envision. And from then on, if I lose, which I have, I lost against Sergio, I lost against Frank Zane, then it was not because I screwed up. It was just because they were better. And then I need another year, or I need another 2 years, or whatever. But the worst thing is that if you lose a competition, or if you're not quite reaching your goal because you didn't do everything that you could do. And this is why I say to people, I say, think about that twice, before you grab something else. Stay on your diet, stay focused, and when you have that question, if you are about to eat and cheat, so think about what your goal is. And this is going to help you get to your goal. That's how you can check.
Mr. Olympia in 1979 placed second to Frank Zane overall.
So they used to have weight classes in the Olympia.
Right.
Under 200, over 200, or?
Yeah.
And you won the over 200 weight class in the Mr.
Olympia? I won the over 200 with a perfect score.
Wow, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. An interesting bit of history.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year, in 1980, I placed fifth at the Mr. Olympia, a contest that I and almost everyone else who witnessed it was convinced was fixed, and as a result decided to drop out of competitive bodybuilding.
Really? Now that was the year that Arnold won it back in Columbus. Was that?
That was in Sydney, Australia in 1980.
Oh, okay, but that was Arnold's comeback year.
Right.
Okay. Huh. And you were so frustrated by that you just stepped out of competitive bodybuilding.
Well, frustrated in that I came to see quite clearly that there was corruption involved, that evil was not something you merely read about in newspapers and novels, that it's all around us.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, I had a glimmering of certain facts that led me to believe there might be something like this going on, but I wasn't so certain. this brought it all into focus, and I didn't want to be involved or associated with people like that, and decided to drop out. It's interesting, at the 1980 Olympia, the only people who saw Arnold as the winner were the 7 judges and his closest friends.
Mm-hmm.
None of the other competitors saw him as the winner. None of the audience, or very few, only those that were his friends. When it's very, very close, you might, of course, haggle over one guy having a little bit more size versus the other guy having a little bit more definition, but those are still objective criteria. There is no way that Arnold Schwarzenegger deserved to win in 1980, not even close.
And we had a habit after we trained at Gold's Gym that we would go and have lunch together. I usually would invite and take the whole gang for lunch and celebrate the great workout that we had, but we would watch each other. Yes, people would have steak and a hamburger patty and all this, but if someone had the bread with a hamburger patty, we would bust them right then and there. But always think about in the end, what is your goal? What is your vision? Where do you want to go? And does this screw up now, or this, kind of need to having some fattening food? Is this going to help you?
Yes, low carbohydrate diets do work, but like all diets that work, it does so by being a calorie deficit diet, one that is lower in calories than maintenance level. You'd be better to reduce the calories of all the macronutrients instead of just one, or you run the risk of not obtaining a well-balanced diet. And if you are on a well-balanced diet with a calorie deficit, it won't hurt your weight loss efforts to have an occasional treat such as a candy bar, piece of pizza, or some ice cream. Just take into account the calories they contain, figure it into your daily calorie budget, and subtract some other food item.
Train like Mike.